welcome back, and this is the continuation of spaghetti squash shrimp soup. And let's get started. So I have the cilantro right here, and what you do is what I do is I get the cilantro, grab a whole bunch like this, rip them off, dry them. I'm gonna actually rip. Oh, I have one more left here, and rinse them. And then it's just a matter of, after they're rinsed, just pull the little leaves off like that, and until you get a pile of cilantro leaves. And I particularly love cilantro, so I got a huge pile here. If you don't like that much, I mean, I have like I have a good handful here to show you. You want to see how much I have? I mean, this is a good handful. And then I have a good handful of garlic. Now, if you don't want to use that much garlic, you can use less. So here's we're going to mince this. So get your knife out. And, oh yeah, you need a pot. So we're going to take the pot. If you have, we're going to put the broth right into the pot. Now see, this is the easy part. Just put the broth right into the pot and put it on medium-high and let that melt. That's all there is to that, unless you want to make the broth that night. If you want to do the broth, then it's a whole different story. And one of the nice things about this recipe is, here's my spaghetti squash back here cooling, because I don't want to handle it hot. But you can do this separate. Do this, the first thing you do is do a spaghetti squash. Set it aside. And if it cools down and you need more time, stick it in the refrigerator. Because when you put it into the broth, it'll heat back up. This is something you don't need to reheat. Because the hot broth, when you stick it in there, it'll be hot enough. So we're going to get in here and we're going to chop. Just put your hand, let me show you grab your knife like that. See how I have my thumb right there? Like that. Pinch it, if you can see that. Pinch, pinch. And then put your hand like this on top of it. And then chop, 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 chop. That's all there is to it. Just get in there. And sometimes what I like to do, depending on what kind of cutting board, I like to turn the cutting board. And what you do is you turn the cutting board and then you square it. You make everything on the board into a square and then you chop again. Now if you want to turn the cutting board, you can. If you don't want to turn the cutting board, you don't have to. Everyone's got different cutting boards. And another method is the same method. I have two different ways of chopping. One is where you're going bump, bump, bump like that. The other one is where you keep this part of the knife. You don't move this up. This stays right on the cutting board, and then you do this. So one is bump, bump, bump. That's not the sound it makes, but that's my sound effects. And then this. So chop, 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 chop. And don't forget to square it. So just find out which one works for you, because everyone has different chopping. If you hold the knife, if you hold the knife back here, that's a lot more work you're going to do. If you want to get the knife in the middle, because you want to let the knife do the work. And there's no rhyme or reason. Just get in there and chop it. Now, one thing a lot of people don't realize, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is you watch you're watching me. You're watching a lot of cooking shows, and they're high speed, and a lot of them are designed for restaurants. And when you're in your own home, you don't want to cook like you're in a restaurant. You want to cook like you're home cooking. doesn't have to be hellaciously fast. It's not, you know, your family members aren't, you know, paying you $150. Well, maybe they are, but they're not like. It's just don't. Some of the techniques, not all. I'm not saying everyone does this, but some of the techniques are for kitchens. It's like gas range is for kitchen. This, I won't go there. Okay, so we have it chopped. Let me show you what that looks like. So everything is, see if I can give you a nice shot of that. Everything is nice and chopped. And if there's a little big pieces in there, this is not, we're not trying to be, how would you say, perfect. This doesn't, if you got a different coarseness to it, there are a couple leaves in there, go for it, just stick it in. So let's put that in the pot. And this is where our shrimp's going to go. If you want to add any other spices, you can. I'm going to add some olive oil. And 1 or 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I like to make a circle, and then a little circle in the middle. That's about right. Turn that on to medium, and we're gonna stir this around until it is fragrant. Now, one thing I like to do is when the shrimp's all nice and cooked, it's really going out there. When the shrimp's nice and cooked, don't forget your iced tea. I like to take some of the broth that's already cooked and pour it into here and swish it around so you get all of the garlic and all of the cilantro out. No garlic or no cilantro left behind. You want all of the flavor. Now, while that's cooking, and again, you can do this by itself, away from the spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash this is not like you see in the movies where you have all the burners going and everything's exploding. Here's my shrimp, and again, it's whatever you want. Shrimp all cooks the same way regardless of the size. You want to cook it on low, and what will happen is when they're kind of like, see how they are? They'll curl up and they go from gray to pink. Now, you don't want to overcook them. And the reason I got the paper towel on there is because I'm trying to get as much water out of them as possible. That's the thing. So let's dump these in. Turn it down to low now. Break this apart. And you want to cover that all up. Oh, sorry. That's me looking at the shrimp going, it smells delicious. Yes, I usually don't. I usually don't go in my videos, but this one I do. Shrimp is good. Now what I try to do is, all the cilantro off there. Let me get my prongs, because we want to cook these as slow as possible, because the slower you cook them, the better they taste. If you cook them really fast, then you're gonna, they don't turn out right. But take them and move them. Yes, this is a little bit of a work, but it's so worth it. And make sure they're all facing down. They're all hitting the pan actually, and they're not overlapping. Okay, so there we go. And I'm gonna turn it a little bit. And I'll put that over here. Fine. So we're gonna put a lid on it. Find the lid. Oh, my big soup lid. I love my big soup lid. It fits my soup pot and it fits my $4 pan, which is, got this for $4, and in the words of Spaceballs, the princess, and I can't live without it. Sorry. If you've seen Spaceballs, she has her huge gigantic luggage, and it has this big, enormous hair dryer and curlers in it. It's funny. Okay, so I think we're gonna need a little bit more soup than that. So let me get all my other cubes out. See how easy this is? Just another one. Plop it in. And we got more soup. Because I'm sure this is going to have seconds on it. So let's go from one to another. And we got, I'm going to use some Bok Choy. This is what Bok Choy looks like. And, you know, well, it's sandy. You want to definitely clean this. I got a little one just for some extra labor. Okay, that's good enough. And let's chop the ends off. If you don't have bok choy, it's perfectly fine. You can use spinach. Oh, that's just a discoloration of the thing. That's fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. And when you buy anything like bok choy, I just like saying that bok choy. Sounds like a chicken bok choy. But you want to buy it when it's nice and pretty, like the leaves are nice and shiny like this. But as you can see on mine, I got some ones with a little bit of personality. But you know something, it doesn't matter. It'll cook up. It'll be edible. See, this one's got a little bit of an issue too, but you know, big deal. If you want to cut those out, if you want to go, well, let's see, that doesn't look so good. Let's just cut that off. Cut around it. And you're like, okay, bye-bye. So let's just coarsely chop this. So just chop, chop, chop. So try to go for bite size. We're just gonna cook these really fast on high. And if you don't like bok choy, spinach. If you don't like spinach, kale. If you don't like kale, they all cook the same, basically. That's got a little bad spot that I didn't see. Let's check our shrimp, because we don't want to overcook it. And let's check our timer, and I'll be right back.